Hello and welcome to Season 5 of Be the Good with Kate Chericello. How are we here already? Honestly, it comes down to that first step. Taking an idea, then taking an action on the idea. Getting on that train, so to speak. And now, over 50 episodes later, here we are. And that's a recurring theme with every guest. We all have the power to make a difference. And once we take the first steps, we can amaze ourselves with what we are capable of and how we can make the world a better place. Be the Good with Kate is all about people doing good in the world while following their passions. Good for their own souls and for others. I get so excited about each and every episode of Be the Good to share with you, and I hope you find inspiration in these people and stories. If you're new here, welcome, and if you're returning, thanks so much for your support. I'm so glad you found Be the Good and would love to hear from you. If you also want to continue to spread these stories of good news, I'd be thrilled if you shared via Instagram, Facebook, email, however you can. Every share, subscriber, like, review on podcast platforms, comment, and so on helps me to share these guests' wonderful works to more people. Thank you for your help in this. Now, on to this week's episode. Let's spread a little more goodness in the world.
My guest today is Dr. Marni Hill Foderaro, and I just learned she is joining me from the Caribbean, which sounds amazing right about now as it's getting colder here on the East Coast. But Dr. Marni is an award-winning author, speaker, and educator. And she says, my goal is to inspire others to live their best life and overcome challenges by choosing how they respond to adversity. She notes how critical it is to understand and stay true to your core values. And I am going to let Marni say the rest. So Marni, thank you so much for being here today.
Okay, thank you so much for having me on here. I resonate with you and your mission. I'm all about goodness, so I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Your time is so appreciated. And please, Marni, tell us more about who you are and what you do in your own words.
Yeah, sure. Well, you said I live in the Caribbean. I moved here about 3 years ago after a wonderful 35-year career as a high school special education teacher in the Chicago suburbs. And 12 of those years, I was a university graduate school adjunct professor. So just a lover of learning and try to see good in all sorts of things in my situation. And I actually had a challenging situation where I kind of chose to leave my American dream and, leave a marriage after many, many years. And, I had a lot of adversity and challenges, but I've always believed in goodness, and I just handle whatever comes my way as a life lesson. And I just try to remain positive. It's not that I am, ignoring it and not acknowledging the pain or the loss, but I'm choosing to respond in a positive way. And I think that our mindset is huge. And so I chose to move to the Caribbean. Just wanted a change of scenery, and it is here that I've found my voice through my pen. So I wrote a spiritual fiction called God Came to My Garage Sale. That is one of the things I'm most known for. Just this book has won a lot of awards and might even be a movie. And it was endorsed by James Redfield, which was really cool. But it was about a situation of a person that lost everything, had to have a garage sale. But instead of being negative or sad or angry or any negative emotion, just filled with love and gratitude. And with that foundation, there were a lot of miracles that came her way. And even though it's a fiction, a lot of it was inspired by true events. And then continuing with writing, I wrote a 5-book series called True Deceit, False Love. And I wrote that to inspire people to handle challenges with relationships, domestic violence, narcissistic abuse, even parental alienation, with a lens of love and forgiveness and knowledge, like learning about it. Because I think, we all have challenges in our lives, all of us. It may look different for everyone, but we can control how we respond to that. And we can also inspire others to look at the good in every situation.
Oh, I love what you said. Everything that you said, but I just wanted to repeat about the mindset. I think that's a word that gets tossed around so much, and yet when you really think of it, right? It's easy just to kind of spout it off, but I could tell that you've really thought about it too. And it is the crux of everything, right? It's every reaction. I know I'm also in the fitness sector. And it's that, like, do I have to work out or do I get to work out because my body is able to, you know, all those things. And in your capacity, everything you mentioned. And so mindset really does just, it's that umbrella over everything we do. So thank you for pointing that out too. And so exciting about your books and everything that you've accomplished here. Please tell me more about your path. And I would love to hear you both include the part about teaching and then also how you ended up deciding I'm going to be a writer as well.
Yeah, well, I've always been a lover of reading and writing as a teacher. And I pursued college and then post, doctoral work even. So I've always just loved learning. And I believe that, knowledge in some ways gives you power. It helps you understand things. So like if you are faced with some adversities, which like I said, we all are, and I had some challenging situations, our mindset is a big part of it. How we choose to look at the situation. Is the glass half full? Is it half empty? I've always been a half full person. I just want to see the good and the lesson in each situation. But part of the whole journey, I think, is researching and learning about, your whatever your situation is, to understand it more. And then a big component, I believe, is also doing the inner work. Going back to your own foundational patterns and impressions and experiences to kind of help you understand yourself more. I think we get to a certain point in our life and we, look at where we're at and we like some things, we might want to change some things, but I think it comes down to kind of evaluating ourselves and our role in situations. So I think that's important. And I found writing to be very healing for me. So that journey just was natural, just to make sense of some of the things I went through. And then at some point, when you get to a point after many years where you're getting closer and closer to your self-actualization, you just are living true to your authentic being, which I feel I am. You want to give back. You want to let others know you can do it too, just choose how you look at your situation. Instead of it being an adversity, look at it as an opportunity. How lucky are you that you get to experience even some of the negative things? Because without experiencing the negative, the dark, you can't really fully appreciate the positive and the light.
That clip right there, I made a mental note. It's like, ooh, highlight that. Absolutely. And I was also drawn to how you said the good and the lesson, and then how you tied all of that into the highs and the lows through life. And we need it all.
Yeah, you really
as
do.
Frustrating as that is sometimes.
Yeah, it's a journey, but really it's all part of the journey. And sometimes we think we have achieved happiness and but then life will throw you a wrench and, things don't go as planned. And, you have to be flexible if you're going to survive. And, but it's much easier to survive if you are authentic and you look at the good, because you really need to look at all of it. It's a balanced situation. And even negative situations in your lives can really be blessings to move you forward on your path.
And what are some of those good news moments, I like to call them, that you've had over the years, whether it's way back to teaching, whether it's more recently through the books and reception of the books, or anything with speaking engagements? You've done so much over the years. Any of those good news moments and stories of people that you've interacted with you'd like to share?
There are so many. I wouldn't even know where to begin. So let me just think. One thing that was just amazing to me is that, when I was going through that discovery time of trying to understand why bad things happen to good people. And, how could I, be a victim in an abusive situation when really I'm not wired that way. And was shocked in a way to find myself in that situation. I would actually look up to people I would consider mentors that did research on various topics that were related to trauma and surviving some situations. And what was a really cool moment or moments were some of these people, many of them, in fact, turned around and told me that what I was doing with my very different approach to my 5-book series, True Deceit, False Love. It's a resource book. It's got poetry. It's got a survivor's workbook, and it's got even a word search puzzle book. Very different approaches to use different parts of your brain to kind of understand trauma and heal. But it just in a very different way. And they turned around and supported what I was doing. Like they actually said, I want to endorse your book series. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm shocked that they even, reached out to me. And so that was pretty great because that gave me some validation, even though I'm someone who's pretty internally motivated. I don't necessarily need the awards or the, outward praise or whatever to let me know I'm on the right path. But it sure was nice to get that validation from people that I respected and that were very, that are very well respected in the field.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
And Marni, I was also, just as an aside, drawn to that you have this background in special education and not just, and there's so many types of teachers and that any of those professions are a challenge in of themselves, but special education has a whole different layer on it. How did that, what's the question I want to ask here? I feel like there's 6 running around in my head, but how did that form, I guess what I'd say, the next chapters of your life or anything you want to share from that experience? Because I just feel like it takes a really special person to be able to be in special education. I think you said 35 years, right?
Yeah.
That's a lot of patience and a lot of creativity and so much.
Well, I absolutely loved my time. I feel like my career was so very rewarding and successful. And I'm just, was thrilled to be part of education, especially at that time, and special education. There's so many different types of teachers. And actually, even within special education, there's so many different areas in special education. In fact, when I was doing my undergrad at Illinois State University, I actually stayed an additional year just to get more certifications in different areas because I didn't quite know the job market, what would be needed or what area I would be drawn to. So I was kind of armed with the certifications I needed to, be able to maybe pick and choose different areas. But what I was drawn to were the kids that looked like everyone else. Okay. So you couldn't just look at them and say, oh, I understand they have, a physical disability or something like that, or they have some sort of mental challenge or something like that. Because you can tell sometimes by the physical outward appearance. I was drawn to the kids that looked like everyone else, wanted to be like everyone else, just like most kids in junior high and high school. But they had some challenges with their learning or they had some challenges with their behavior. And you could tell that it was affecting their self-esteem. So the kind of teacher that I was more of just helping these kids feel good about who they are, comfortable in their own skin. And the learning would follow. The academic content stuff would follow. But I thought it was very, very important to set a tone of just acceptance and that everyone has worth, and learning challenges that might be different than other people. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It can be a good thing. And either way, your mindset and how you choose to respond to things, is a big testament into what your reality will be. So I just tried to instill not only a love of learning, but an acceptance of each individual for who they were. And oh my gosh, I would say those years teaching were just some of the best years of my life, because I learned a lot too from so many of these kids. And then I was really honored to, I earned my doctorate back in 1997. And it was in the curriculum department at Northern Illinois University. And I really wanted to teach at the graduate school level. So we're talking teaching superintendents or principals or department chairs, people that were involved in deciding curriculum and, what was going to be taught, how it was going to be taught. And I really wanted to bring this philosophy that I had of just everyone has worth. And I would even say to some of these, graduate students that just because you have some letters behind your name and you have a degree, it doesn't make you any more important than the next person who doesn't. And I would even talk about an example of like a farmer who is tilling the land, and maybe this farmer doesn't have more than a 6th grade education with the formal school setting, but don't be fooled that this farmer could be extremely intelligent in so many different areas. They know the weather, they know the land, they know the equipment, how to fix things. They know the value of a honest, hard day's work, So it was, I've kind of carried over, this love of just people and goodness, in my teaching and even in my graduate school teaching. And then I continued on to, because I am a lover of learning, I went on to postdoctoral work at Harvard, and again was able to analyze, what we teach, but how we teach it and who are we teaching to. So that's just kind of the fabric of who I am. It turned out to be a wonderful career for me and just a passion. And even though I'm no longer in that field, I'm an author now, and I'm not in the school setting. I've done a few writing workshops here and there where I'm teaching people. I'm still in contact with a number of students that I don't even want to tell you how old they are with their own families now, because that would really date me. But they'll say things to me like, boy, you really made an impact in my life. You taught me some basic things about life and about accepting ourselves. And that means more to me than, knowing that, they learned some grammar and punctuation or something like that. Because that learning does come when you need it, but there was just a small window of time where I could really help these kids that have gone through, if they're by the time they were the high school level, they had gone through being labeled, being separated from their classmates, being just made to feel different. Some of them are teased and bullied. And, it was a really great opportunity to kind of reinstill the hope that there's good, and there's good in them and good in the world.
And it's not what everybody just needs, someone to hear them, to see them where they are, and to give them that hope. I love that you said that. A theme that keeps coming up in a lot of episodes too is a long career that just shifts and is not the same that it looked like it was going to be starting out, and so it's so interesting. You went education, extra degrees, and there's so much in the journey, and now author, and how all of your learning over the years all plays into every piece along the way, right? It's never that it's a whole new chapter, that what came before doesn't mean anything. It all plays into what comes next.
Sure. I think, we need to, as we get older, and I'm in my 60s now. So, we get more in touch with who we are, and we become more authentic. And if we've gone through some life challenges with relationships or health or jobs or whatever people have challenges with, we do step back and analyze and look at the situation. And I think we become stronger in our convictions and truer to ourselves, which in turn we present in a just a real honest way of what our values are. And I just believe in goodness. And I say that all the time. And that's why I loved, the name of your podcast, because it's good can mean different for a lot of different people. But, for me, it certainly means just living authentically, living honestly, and feeling love and compassion for our fellow human beings.
So now, Marni, over the time when you are faced with challenges, what mantras, sayings, quotes, etc., have gotten you through?
There were many, and I think, I would find one that was good for that week, and I might print it out and use it as an affirmation, just to look at in the morning, to wake up with an attitude of gratitude. So there weren't always just one mantra here and there. There were just so many different things. And I think, people have to resonate with something that really connects with them. And I just believe that love conquers all. So that would be definitely one that, I always would say to myself, well, love conquers it all. Justice doesn't always prevail. Some relationships might not be what you think they are, and that's reality. But love still can conquer all.
And it sounds like you've been such an amazing example of that for your whole life. Marni, I have one more question for you. Please, if someone came to you and they wanted to make a difference, they wanted to be the good in their own world, but they just didn't know where to start or how to start, is there any advice you'd give them?
I would probably say just for them to reflect on themselves and their passions and what is something that brings them joy. And then they can, in a very authentic way, share that to inspire other people. If it's coming from their heart, if it's coming from, the soul of who they are. So I would say really get in touch with yourself and what your passions are. What is something that brings you happiness, or that can bring other people happiness, and kind of use that as a starting point to see where it goes.
Wonderful. Marni, where can we find you online and read more about you and your books and everything you've done?
Yeah, sure. I have a website, which is the name of my first book, is spiritual fiction. So it's www.godcametomygaragesale.com. And that is where you can find out about my books, the people that have endorsed my books, the different events, speaking engagements, book signings. I even highlight other people and what they do as well, because it really takes a number of people to help inspire others. So my website is the best, www.godcametomygaragesale.com. And my books are all on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. My publisher is Balboa Press, which is a division of Hay House. So they're just a click away.
Wonderful. Marni, I feel like I'm just going to have a smile on my face for the rest of the day. You have such an uplifting way about you. Thanks for being here today.
Well, Kate, thank you so much. I really appreciate what you do. And you're just inspiring so many people, because, especially with the world, the way things can be challenging, either within ourselves personally or globally, there's so much good to focus on. And so, I love that mission, and I'm just honored that you wanted me to come here and talk about how I feel about goodness.
Well, it will inspire many. So thank you so much.
Thanks so much for listening to Be the Good with Kate Chericello. Whether you're listening on YouTube or via podcast, it would mean the world if you liked, subscribed, and or left a review. You heard about the good, now go out and be the good in your life this week. If you have stories of good news that need to be shared, please send me a message. Thanks again, and have a great week.